Hey, good afternoon and welcome. It is 5 o'clock on a Tuesday, and after having some significant work a week ago, we are back at our usual haunt. My name is Rob, aka Lantern Noir, and I am one of the two hosts here at Happy Hour. And joining me is the amazing.
Graybeard of Graybeard's Tavern.
So how was the Labor Day weekend?
I got called into work Sunday and Monday. So, no labor going on there. Yeah,
Well, the
no, it's crazy.
the good news is if the oldest house elf ever gets asked to write a paper on irony,
Yeah.
she could just go, well, irony is being called into the office on the
On
holiday to
labor.
celebrate the fact that you don't have to go to work at more than 5 days a week.
Exactly.
That is the very definition of irony.
Yeah. We want to do our weekend gaming now, or is that later on?
Make it cool. Let's do a quick round of the weekend gaming before we get into the big topic.
Me and the house elf did a one-page dungeon yesterday that was pretty
Ooh.
cool. It was it was all about oozes and halfling ooze farmers. So very interesting. They had to fight off the oozes, so that was pretty good. Um, yeah. Really, other than my Grognard game, that's pretty much all I got right now. I'm a big liar. We played Zweihander with the UK crew on Sunday also. So yeah,
Nice.
so I got a couple three good games in.
I saw that the company that publishes Zweihander was featured on a Twitter thread. It
Mm,
was flagged as a red flag game
mm.
because the developers are too woke to be fun.
Well, I'm sure Daniel Fox, who we've spoken to a few times, will appreciate that red flag. Okay, they'll put a hammer and a sickle on it and fly it like some kind of communist gamer conspiracy people or something. I don't know. It's a good guys, very good guys.
Yeah,
So
that was one that I caught. That I was looking through the various games that made the cut.
yeah.
WotC, I think, is a yellow flag. It
Mm.
may have been all the way to red. It's hard for me to remember exactly where it landed,
Yeah.
but it definitely rated on somebody's radar.
Mm.
So that's where that landed. I was like, oh, I know that game. I know that.
Mm.
We had our Wednesday night game. We still had it. Speaking of flags and stuff,
Yeah.
but we had it over on YouTube because
Oh, that's right.
Wednesday was the I can't remember what the official title of it was. Now it's happened, but the goal was to stay off Twitch for the day if you could afford to show support and solidarity for the LGBTQ plus community and for streamers of color who have been kind of on the receiving end of a lot of not so great stuff over the last couple of weeks.
Rage
So
raids.
yeah, so the thought process was to just kind of like, still get our game on, but just
Hmm.
do it in a different platform.
Yep. Yeah.
So we
That's
did that.
did did you pick up some technology so that in the future you can do both?
Well, the biggest thing you bump into with doing both is Twitch has their exclusivity agreement. So once you become an affiliate,
Oh,
you give them 24
yeah.
hours to be your exclusive place
Yeah.
for streaming. And so you just kind of have to, do what you got to do to make it work. So yeah, we did do it on YouTube. There's a lot I missed about using Twitch. There's just a
Mm.
lot of other bells and whistles that Twitch has integrated in that are kind of nice. Um, but we still had a good show of it, and we had fun. We had a pretty active chat for D and
Oh,
D
nice.
D&D prime time. I thought, okay, yeah,
Yeah,
we got some friends that will follow us wherever we're playing.
that's awesome.
The party made me write an NPC because the priestess or
Hmm.
the rectress, that's what I've been referring to her as, the rectress of the local church, um,
Mm.
is supposed to be a like, here's some backstory. Now go forth and do other things with other people. I'm just here to help fill in a couple of little things here and give you someone to hate. And they're like, no, you need to come with us. No, you need to come with us. I rolled persuasion. I want to convince her to come with us. Like, she can't come with you. She doesn't have a stat block.
She doesn't have a stat block.
No, she's not going with you. She's an NPC. No. She's not programmed to leave the churchyard. She has a pacing cycle. It follows the day-night thing. Like, there's literally no pathfinding for her if she leaves this area.
She does her animation again.
Yeah, and it's like, okay, well, I guess we're going to kidnap the. Okay, you do you.
You kids get off my church.
Yeah, so they dragged her along, which was definitely on the interesting side of things. So that worked, and we got through that. But then we went north the weekend. I was offline for most of the weekend.
Wow.
So it was kind of neat. We played. I managed to get a game of Treasure Island in.
Okay.
It took me longer to explain the game than it did to play. Because my Mrs. Noir found the buried treasure on the third move.
Oh man, done.
Yeah, just total luck, to a degree.
And then everybody was like, "We are not sitting through that again." Did you play the second or third round?
No, with those three,
Oh.
we didn't keep playing. It's like, okay, and we gotta get dinner on, so we're done. So I remember that I really like it as a board game.
Yeah.
But you definitely want to give yourself some time to play it 2 or maybe 3 times, so you have some options.
Yeah. That's what we've talked on board games before. You got a closet full of them, and by the time you get back to one that you haven't played in so long, you're like, oh, I gotta relearn how to play this. Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
At least now there's, I can't think of a board game that's out there that doesn't have some kind of tutorial video. So you could just watch a video. That's the way I do it now when we want to play a board game. I watch a video way before time and then like, okay, I kind of got this. Let's do it.
Well, and that's exactly where I landed, because I was like, oh, I really want to play this weekend. And I opened the box and it was like, oh, I don't remember exactly how the turns go.
Yeah.
I don't remember like who goes, okay, wait, what clues do I put out there again?
Right.
And I'm like, crap, I need to take an afternoon to reread the rule book and remember, because the rule book is terrible.
Yeah.
It is probably the worst rule book I've ever read. So, but it was a good weekend and we had a lot of fun. And I did win a game of gerrymandering. So another wonderful little board game we picked up. It was a Kickstarter, and it was the beauty. You have a map, and there's the exact same number of all the colors on the map.
Right.
So you win by drawing lines to create districts, so that your color has the majority in the district, and the goal is to have the majority of districts.
Right.
And I felt really bad because at the end of the game, I had like 5.
Right.
And then my mother and Mrs. Noir each had 4, and my dad had 2. And the knowledge that in this little fictional, ecosystem, that technically this is a completely split area.
Yeah. Technically.
I have more than twice his votes in Parliament because I drew really good lines.
Yep.
Remember, kids, gerrymandering is not a game unless it is.
Yeah. Yeah, it's yep. No politics, not right now, not here.
But it's a brilliant, clever game that leaves you only slightly dirty at the end.
You can still be friends. Is that what you're telling me? It's not diplomacy where you'll never speak to the people you play with ever again. Because
diplomacy, that's a friendship killer.
Mm-hmm.
But so friendships can endure all kinds of crazy things. And Miracle Grow, aka Adam, who is in my Curse of Strahd game, really got me on the you got to play Baldur's Gate. You got to play Baldur's Gate. Mm-hmm. And I tried to run it on my home computer here, and it tanked.
Oh,
it was not happening. And so I did was I popped over to Stadia, pulled it up there, and I've been playing it on Stadia.
Okay.
So That got me thinking about it. I have a lot to dunk on.
Okay. What is Stadia?
Oh, Stadia. Okay, thank you for asking. I'm glad we rehearsed that so I could tell them about what Stadia is. Stadia is the it's a Google has it, and it's
Yeah.
completely streaming gaming. So
Ah.
take Steam, which we all know and love,
Mhm.
um, but now shift it to rather than downloading the game,
Mhm.
you play the game entirely on the cloud.
Whoa. All right. Cool. That's the future of gaming. I like it. That sounds awesome.
Yeah, and it is very much in that category of the future of gaming because you it runs like Netflix.
Yeah.
So if you have a good enough connection to stream Netflix to your house,
Yeah.
you are 100% streaming. You can just totally stream video games, and it
And do
just
they,
go ahead.
I mean, do they have like all the titles that Stream does kind of thing, or do they just like stick to just the real tight money makers?
That is like the one big downside is
Mm.
the catalog is still incredibly small.
Mm.
So, hey, Asaki, welcome aboard. I would love it if there was more there,
Yeah.
but it's just not there yet,
Hmm. Yeah.
unfortunately.
Something
So,
to think about though. I mean, if you can run Netflix, you can run Stadia. Um,
yeah, basically, which I think is really smooth. And it's funny, my dad jokes about the fact that our internet is terrible up at the cottage.
yeah.
I played a crap ton of Stadia while we were up there, and I hardly ever noticed problems.
Nice.
It was still crisp enough on my work. And the thing is, I can't install games on my work laptop,
Right. Right. Right.
but I can run browser applications, and
Exactly.
it runs off your browser.
Exactly. Yep.
So, and it runs through my firewall at work. So,
For now.
I don't play on my prep. And I
Right.
don't play with
Right.
students in the room, but it's been
Right.
my lunch hour, has been my little guilty pleasure of grabbing my sandwich and firing up Baldur's Gate 3, which got me to like, and it's like, I think my stream title today was I'm going to continue my hate play
Right.
because it's like, I really don't like a lot of things about Baldur's Gate 3.
Okay.
However,
Mm-hmm.
there's a lot I really do like, and that's kind of what got me kicking around the idea of let's talk about what would be in our idealized
Yeah.
Dungeons and Dragons. We in the past we've talked about D&D computer games that we really
Right.
liked.
Yeah.
But what are some things that we would want to see? Like if Larian Studios were listening to us and they were going to go after Baldur's Gate 4
Mhm.
or tabletop simulations?
Yeah. TTOs.
Who did they did Solasta. If they were
Yeah.
like, hey, we want to do a Solasta too, which I don't think they're going to, but
Right.
because they still have a lot of miles they can get out of what they have. These are things we'd want to see.
Yeah. Yeah. I think the first Solasta, they're gonna put out dungeons for it.
Yeah.
I think from now, and I think it's a good idea on their part. So for some, I am gonna go under the premise that I don't have such horrible vertigo because I can't play first-person shooters anymore. So in Baldur's Gate 3 was nice because you can get that far third-person perspective, and and then the cutscenes are pretty good. Excuse me. So yeah, so I guess that would be the option that at least you could play it from different first person to third person or such, or for me in particular just flat out third person. Yeah, I guess that would be it, and then be able to mitigate some of the other stuff like that. Voice acting, definitely. A lot of voice acting would be good. Again, I'm dyslexic, so if your font's weird or tiny or whatever, I have a hard time with it. So
So let's talk about that voice acting, which is a
sure.
good quality of life issue to put in there.
Hmm.
Um, would you rather have? Would you be willing to give up voice acting if you only had a small number of voices? Because I'm thinking about like Solasta, you only get six total voices for your character in the game. When you're building your little party, you get 3 feminine
Yeah.
sounding and 3 masculine sounding.
Ooh.
And that's all you get for your character. And in the current build of Baldur's Gate 3, you
Yeah.
get for your PC, because you only get one character that's yours, the rest are all
Mm.
NPCs that join the party.
Yeah.
You only get 4 voices to pick from,
Wow.
which is weird because you almost never hear your character talk.
Right.
Now that
Right.
could be an
Hmm.
early access thing.
Yeah.
They might be planning to bring more of those things later, but as of now, they're not in the mix.
Yeah. Because I mean, wow, there was a, if I'm remembering correctly, in the original Baldur's Gate, there was a ton of voices. There was one one that I loved, and everyone in my house hated because there wasn't really a lot of headphones being used back then. So it was the, I don't remember what the voice was called, but for me it was one of my little halfling characters, and he always did the
Yeah.
and it became a thing where my roommates wanted to murder me.
Well,
um
and the voices, to a lot of degrees, they've kept that level of voice work because in
mhm.
all the cutscenes, all the NPCs have full voices,
Mm.
and then you have your dialogue options,
Right, right, right. Yeah, yeah.
and they're not voiced. You click it, and it's assumed you've said it,
Right,
and
right.
then it kind of goes through, which gets me to the. It'd be really neat to see like Nightlight Night NLK um, play it because I'd love to hear her doing her own voice for her character.
Right. Yeah,
Um,
I did that for Shadowrun. Uh boy. Well, I do it for almost all the games that I stream. I'll try to make up different voices for all the characters and do all the voice acting for. Um but Shadowrun Hong Kong, I did the voices for, and that was a lot of fun. But yeah, sometimes, and then what I try to do is I try to read again with the dyslexia. I try to read all the options, and I only voice the option that I choose. You know, so
that makes
um,
sense. That makes sense.
yeah. But yeah, that'd be amazing to have someone with some good pipes do some voice work with that. Hmm.
Yeah, but that gets to the weird thing because with Solasta, I'm very impressed by the fact that they have, for your 6 voices you can pick from,
Hmm.
they have the entire um, game voiced. So when you're in
Hmm.
cutscenes, all the characters have voices.
Wow,
Um,
nice.
and what's really slick about it too, to talk this up, and I think this is very clever. When you make your character, you assign them personality traits.
Mm.
So as the cutscenes are playing, it finds the character in your party most
Yeah.
likely to say a given line that's supposed to be in the cutscene.
Oh
So
wow, that's amazing.
it tries to match the personality traits you picked,
Right.
which is one of those like it blows my mind. And like that to me is like a must keep.
Yeah.
If you're gonna
Yeah.
do animated cutscenes or full motion or any kind of cutscenes like that, I do to put that extra layer in there to line it up, but it does like quadruple the work because every voice actor has to
Hmm.
basically do the entire script,
Yeah.
even if some player will never hear them give certain lines.
Yeah. Because if you're playing the you boxy dwarven rogue or something, and then you're it's the line is, we must save the children. We must save the children. You know.
Yeah, yeah. It's like how many players are going to pick that take the dwarven accent and then assign them the caring, altruistic, loyal traits
Exactly.
more than anybody else in the party
Right.
in order to kind
Right.
of steer them in that direction.
but
Um,
it would be an amazing, like you said, that level of care in the game is fantastic.
okay, so here's another one then for D&D for computer
Mm-hmm.
games. Troop style play,
Mm.
or are you thinking so troop style, or are you would it be individual? I make one character and I play them through. In the idealized D&D game, what do you see as and uh, Braint? That is a great point to raise. We'll get to that in just a second.
Yeah, the so I I have always liked Baldur's Gate style where you get to build your party, even if it's, you make a character and then you pull in the NPCs, but you do the tactics for the party tactics rather than like Neverwinter Nights where or Knights of the Old Republic where you're like, you've got one companion and
Oh
and
God,
then you don't really control that companion, or you can
not a
switch
fan
to
of that.
or you can switch to that companion,
Mm-hmm.
but then you're not controlling yourself. um yeah, I've always liked the ability to build the whole party. I love that team building stuff.
Yeah. Getting back to Brain's comment here, that type of design works well in a multiplayer. Speaking back to the voice lines,
Mm-hmm.
multi-character solo game. Otherwise, the scripting becomes an absolute mess. Planescape Torment is known for having 10 encyclopedias worth of dialogue in just one ending. Yeah, I can definitely see the work necessary, although I kind of like the scripting in the sense of everybody writes all the lines. And going back to that, I think what they did with Solasta is they had the script and every voice actor read the script and then they just assigned the lines to the voice/character combo that made it make sense in the moment. Like
Yeah,
someone is going to comment on the beer tasting like donkey piss.
right,
The question
right.
is which of your party makes the comment?
Right. Who's the most likely of the four characters or
Yes.
whatever to say this at the moment? Is it the sassy rogue?
Or the
that
or
they
the
so
grizzled dwarven veteran. And it's like I
or
can see
the
that being like a
mhm,
like the prioritization scheme. If you have
mhm.
this many points in this direction, like this is how it finds who's gonna do it.
Damn it, down to the paladin. Um,
Which can happen. I think recent game called Greedfall.
ooh,
Depending on the companions you could bring in the quest, but the outcome could be vastly different, even to your detriment. Choose carefully. Greedfall was on my radar. I wish I'd played more of it to see
mhm,
how it stacks as a potential D&D game.
yeah,
Because that is not one I got. I really had a hard time with the controls
yeah.
early, and I didn't push myself enough to get into. Have you played Greedfall at all?
It was one of those that was high on my wish list until my vertigo, and then I started to weed out anything that I couldn't play a little further back,
Yeah.
in third person. So yeah, so it was on my list because it looked amazing.
The
So
art design is gorgeous, and I should probably,
yes.
when I finally burn out on the two D&D games I'm playing now, I should
Mm,
probably try to stream it and see what I think of it.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
See where
Good
that takes
idea.
me. Um, but the thing about the troop style of play is that idea of I really like making like I like creating the story of a party.
Hmm.
And I wonder if that's the DM in me. I like to picture in terms of the troop. So
Yeah.
I find an idealized D&D game the one where I get to say, okay, I'm going to take this many characters with me and I'm going to like do this combo. I want,
Hmm.
two clerics and a paladin and they're going to be my party. And
Right.
if we pick up a rogue along the way, cool.
Right. Yeah. Or I can't remember what was. I think it was in Icewind Dale or something. I was like, I'm going with four monks. I'm just gonna see what happens. And it was all like four kung fu, masters on their quest through the frozen wastelands, or the frozen Dale. Yeah. I like to be able to do that to make the combos and make the characters, though that's one of the things about the original Baldur's Gate that was so good to me was the characters had relationships and their alignments and stuff mattered.
Oh yeah.
Because certain characters would just hate on other characters and eventually would leave the party if you made the wrong choices and stuff. That was just for the
great writing
for the day. It was amazing.
Well, and it's interesting because in a lot of ways I feel like the more you hold on, let me start that. Okay, found my thought. With that solo gameplay, with where you collect your companions, I feel like it feels a little less D&D-ish and more like a solo D&D game with a DM.
Yeah.
Because you do control all of your guys in combat, but then you shift into, but I'm in my character, and Will is in Will's character, and the DM is controlling all of them.
Right,
and I think
right.
maybe that's why for me, if I remember right, there was a way without doing the multiplayer thing, you could have multiple self-designed PCs in the original Baldur's Gate.
Ooh.
I think. Or there was another one in that period. Maybe it was Temple of Elemental Evil. You made your own party.
Yep. You could. That one was a really good one too. Although, okay. Yeah. Anyway, my Temple Elemental Evil. I love to play the Moat House. I have played the Moat House a billion times, and I have run the Moat House a billion times. But when you get to the temple, it becomes the atypical, open the door, kill the monster, next room. Open the door, kill the monster, next room.
Classic D&D. How much? That's another good one to talk about. The point that Brain's making here. About Wasteland is another game that has a lot you can do with customizing your party as you collect people. And I remember I played a little bit of that, and I wish I'd stuck it out, and then I don't remember what it was that took my attention off of it.
Yeah, well, so original Wasteland is ancient, and it was a lot of fun. And then 2 was really good, and I have not played 3 yet. But it's on my list.
3 is interesting.
Yeah,
I'm not gonna lie. It's definitely, it has some weird vibes to it, and it definitely has that grim dark. Grim dark.
Okay.
I'll just say it's grim dark.
Okay, because the first one was, had a lot of, and even 2 had a lot of good jokey bits to it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, so there's still jokes.
Okay.
There's still jokes, but I mean, like, they execute people by leaving them out in the Colorado snow in the middle of town, naked. I'm like,
got it.
Okay, that's so that's a thing. All right.
So that's a thing. Nice. Yeah.
It's not a game I play with the kids around.
It would definitely be I would want to be able to build my own party, even if it was, you build the core party and then the NPC options come along later.
Yeah.
I'd be okay with that.
Yeah, and I think maybe that's because between the two, if I had to pick, Celeste currently wins for me. And I think that's one of the reasons. Is I like that freedom of going, I want this to be my party. Let's see how it goes. Are we in agreement that it should have tactical combat?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Definitely no Dark Alliance nightmare. Yeah. They.
Well, now, do you remember back to Gold Baldur's Gate 1, where you had tactical, but you also had, just do your thing. And the AI would sometimes throw some spells out, but otherwise it just would run up and spam basic attack.
Yeah. But yeah, it was funny because it was one of the, game show buzzer games. Pause. Okay. All right, you're fine. I don't have to worry about the halfling because he's just like plink, 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 plink with his bow. But mage, you were getting too close. Move your butt back. Click on the mage and force him to go backwards. Yeah. So I would prefer that it was an option. I would prefer that it's in the settings and you can go, okay, click, Yeah, you got so much AI autonomy, and it's aggressive, defensive. If I remember correctly, I think it was in Temple Elemental Evil, I think you could set like a defensive posture, aggressive
Mm-hmm.
posture, melee, ranged, and a couple others that in there you could set their posturing. So that was good. So
I think Bray brought up the troop building in Divinity, and it just occurred to me because my first thought was I don't think it does. You do a lot of recruiting NPCs, but if I also remember right, at the end of chapter 1, you have the option to hire mercenaries,
yeah.
and then you build the mercenaries,
Oh,
so you can like ditch
right.
the set characters and build your own little party of all custom made people to go gallivanting along.
Yeah, I don't remember that.
Which I'd have to go back and look again. Um, and that concept is what I did not explore very well in there. And maybe there's hope we'll see something like that in Baldur's Gate 3 for us types that like to have our no, I want to
Yeah.
put Mrs. Noir and Kitty K and the Super Zan into an adventuring party and send them off and see what happens.
Right, right.
And that's the kind of thing where it's like I like it and I get it. But I
Yeah.
do think for me, it's that sense of more at the table.
Yeah.
So I do dig that.
Yeah, I think that tactical in a game where you can you can throw fireballs and shoot arrows and have sword and board and stuff. I just think it's better if you have more control to it.
Yeah, well, I also think that looking back on second edition and advanced Dungeons and Dragons, so going back to where the Baldur's Gate games were published, combat wasn't very exciting.
Right.
It was a lot of like, okay, the wizard has 3 spells, the cleric has 5, and everyone else more or less just keeps plinking away.
Right.
A little bit of tactical maneuvering, and so forth and so on.
Yeah. Stop. Hit the heel. Okay.
Yeah.
Wizard, this is save your spells because you only got a couple.
Just keep using your crossbow.
Yep, you're on crossbow duty right now.
Yeah. Or keep using your sling.
Mhm.
But then as we've moved up through 3rd and then 4th and now in 5th, there's so much more stuff to do. There's so many more decisions to make.
Right.
And I think you almost have to have that. Okay, everybody stop. What's happening?
Right. Right. Yeah. Because I'm going to throw up an entangle, and you now are standing in the middle of the entangle area, and you're entangled too. Or I huck fairy fire. Oh, I got the fighter in the fairy fire, so now they're all beating the fighter with the advantage also.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's things like that you want to kind of like. I like more of my tactical decisions, and even though I'm not big on battle boards when I run D&D right now, I really like the idea of it being every turn people have tough choices to make.
Yeah.
Or good choices to make. It's not just, I'll just swing. I'll just swing. And so on.
I'm gonna hit the next one from Bryant there.
Okay.
Yeah, there are actually games with that groundwork already there. Just look at Darkest Dungeons. Love some Darkest Dungeons. Played it on my channel for like 2 years straight. Yeah, it's definitely a good thing to be able to. I play a lot of those tactical type games, Battle Brothers and Darkest Dungeon. Some of the Wilder Myth is now out there. Yeah, so some of those are really great, and I think those are their existence is showing us that people love that. So I don't think that's going to go away.
Yeah, and there's some good qualities to pull from that as we kind of like cobble together our idealized D&D game. I'm not gonna lie, I wouldn't mind seeing something more along the lines of an XCOM to pull in. Um,
Right.
just because there's a lot to like in that.
Right.
And I feel like Solasta's trying to get to that, and Baldur's Gate 3 and to a degree Divinity both start down that road with some weird decision points. Because Solasta, there's another one too, hang on, Dungeon of Old Nibelung, the Amulet of Chaos.
Yes, it's on my wish list, but I have not played it.
Really hits that like XCOM-y,
Yeah.
here's a battle grid and everyone lives in a square and here are your moves and it's weird. I actually prefer the grid or hexes over freeform, just trace your path.
Right.
I'm finding myself swearing a lot more in BG3 about positioning than I
Yep.
did in Solasta because I don't know where I'm going.
Yeah. Oh, I will totally agree with that one. Just getting out of the opening chapter in BG3. Oh, I'm on fire again. Oh, okay. I don't want to be on fire. Can we not have me on fire? Thank you very much.
The comment on the channel one time was pathfinding is great. It's the idle finding that's the problem. Because like they know not to walk into fire until they're told to stand around, and everyone kind of goes, "Oh, I shall stand in a diamond formation behind the party leader." I'm on fire now.
Fire.
It's like why did you why? But I mean that's the kind. I feel like those are unforced errors because you can do a lot with things like hexes and still create the sense of like you can go anywhere you want.
Right.
But you better communicate. I think it's the lack of communication with the player
Yeah.
as to the consequences of the decisions. Okay, another one called Enlisted, which experiments with solo squad gameplay. Switch your character between a bunch of NPCs. I've seen that. My computer yelled at me when it saw me looking at it. Because I think that's a PC only game right now.
Enlisted. I don't know that one.
But yeah, it's World War II. It's a shooter. But the idea is you outfit. I think if I'm reading this right, you outfit your squad, and then when you get into a spot where you're like, oh, I want to be this other guy, you just switch to the squad mate that's that guy.
Cool.
Dark Alliance game could be improved by better AI, allowing you to build your own party and simply issuing commands. Yeah, I think Dark Alliance really would have been a much better game if they had gotten together with EA.
Yeah.
Which, granted, it's hard to get together with EA. And just kind of like taking a page out of the Mass Effect book.
Yep.
And going, okay, we're going to assign two AI companions, and here's how you issue commands to them.
Yeah.
And you can level them up.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know why. So the original Dark Alliance was fun.
Yeah.
It was fun. The problem was when you played with another person, the second you had to do inventory management or buy new stuff and all that, it ground to a damn halt. And you were like, I'll be sleeping over here on this couch when you when you finish at the store, then we can get on with this.
I'm gonna go get dinner while you do your inventory. When I get back, you can eat. I'll do my inventory. Mrs. Noir and I did that a lot back then.
Yep.
And it's like I don't mind there being I don't mind the label D&D being attached to the label being attached to a game that's not a Dungeons and Dragons experience. But I do mind it being attached to a game that's not a positive experience.
Yeah. Yep.
Screw taking a page from Mass Effect. Okay, don't hold back. Tell us what you're feeling. Take a page from Kingdom Come's gameplay. I don't know Kingdom Come that well yet.
Yeah. So Kingdom Come is very much like, I don't know if you've ever played like Mountain Blade.
I've seen it.
Blade. Yeah. It's a lot more, if if you are like me and have done, HEPA, HEMA, SCA, martial arts and stuff, it's a much cooler feeling experience, because as you're moving in with your sword and shield, you're going to aim high, you're going to aim medium, you're going to block, and so yeah,
Ah,
it's very, very cool.
it sounds incredibly cool, and it sounds like two things.
Mm,
One, not a game I would enjoy.
right.
Like I
Yeah,
know
I've
me,
got buddies like that. Yep.
I know me. And two, I don't think I would enjoy the D&D label being slapped on it, because I
uh,
like the fact that when I send my halfling paladin into battle and she pulls that two-hander off her back, I have, as a dude, no clue what she's going to do with it. But I trust that she knows what she's going to do with it.
Perfect.
And beyond the Mask of Zorro, you know what to do
Right.
with that,
Yeah.
don't you? Yes. The pointy end goes in the other guy.
Look at that.
Oh,
Exactly. Antonio Banderas.
underrated movie, if you ask me.
Yeah.
Absolutely beautiful movie. And the training montage was just the training montage. The only training montage better, perhaps, was Mystery Men, because Mystery Men was better for everything.
Whoa, a mystery man reference. Cool. All right.
May the forks be with us.
Mhm.
Where do you think my brain is every time I talk about how many times I toggle the toggle?
Mhm.
How many toggles total are we talking? Most of the games that do the swords just feel like extra fancy metal sticks, and ones that are halfway satisfying are hammers and maces. What you find satisfying, my friend, is what you find satisfying.
Mhm.
I do think there's a certain amount of the game ratings people probably have a say in how accurate swords get to be.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, so there's Mordau and Mountain Blade and Kingdom Come that are all very a much more historic experience and things. And yeah, I love those games, but yeah, I wouldn't want that in my D&D game,
Mm-hmm.
because if I'm trying to go that route, I'm sorry. I run up with my broadsword and go blinka blinka to the, in anymore in my D&D game, I want my buster sword and and I come flying through the air and doing a twirling chop. D&D is for
Ooh.
high fantasy. Now
Oh.
I used to play my D&D very, very Tolkien-esque, and I've let that go, and I play a much more high fantasy. If I'm gonna play that, I want to play Pendragon or Harnmaster or uh, uh what the hell's the other one? Burning Wheel.
It's interesting too, and I appreciate the point of view at having experienced these things. And it is true, once you've done certain things for yourself, a lot of fantasy games and video games take on a whole new twist.
Yeah.
I know that I had very little concept of what it was like to fire an automatic pistol or semi-automatic pistol. I never fired an automatic pistol. I fired semi-auto. Having played tons of Call of Duty, but my buddy put one in my hands. I pointed it down range and went, okay, I get it. I really get it. I mean, if you've ever wondered I can only imagine based on that experience what it's like to call up an Eldritch Blast and throw it. Because there you're not even like picking up a tool, you're just creating death and casting it. But looping back to where we were, one thing that I think would be really neat to see them do, and in my idealized D&D computer game, is spend 20 times more time on combat animations.
Yeah.
I think we've moved well past where I remember when I first played EverQuest
Yeah.
1. I remember geeking out that when you click the spell button, your little model went wumpa 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 boom. And I played Mac to max level at some point in World of Warcraft history. She's not now because it's been 10 years. So there's been like 15 expansions.
Right.
But I did it because she had the big red braids going down the back.
Yeah.
And when she would do the casting, her braids would spin around her head like little helicopter blades. I'm like, that is so cool. But
that's in Temple of Elemental Evil, when they cast magic missiles fly out from like their sides. They like, pew 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 like this, and the magic missiles fly around and then come back in like homing darts, and so that really started for me the acceptance of more big spells and magic, being like, magic, it starts really small and there's lightning between my fingers, and then that it just I think that they definitely, some of the things I like about more modern games is you've always got spells to cast. They're on timers or cooldown rather than oh, you're out for the day. So would you rather still have like straight 5e D&D? Okay, you only got so many slots before a rest.
Well, here's where I'm at. I think if you're going to apply the D&D title and you slap it on there, then I think we should have the spell slot system with the cantrips. But I also think you have to plan the game better.
Yeah.
So I feel like you need to plan the game in a way that it's logical for the party to take long rests as frequently as they would based on the enemies you're throwing at them at the tabletop.
Right.
So if every fight is a challenging fight, then after 3 fights, they should be done with the locale they are in.
Right. I see what you're saying.
Whereas if you're using combat as filler, and I remember back when I was developing for Neverwinter Nights, I was developing mods and I was part of the modding community. A big point they made was there's just a lot more combat.
Yeah.
In Neverwinter Nights because it's a video game.
Yeah.
So they're going to kill a lot more monsters. So the experience rewards were like a tenth of what they were in the rules because they're just milling through more stuff. Which I'm fine with, but then you have to bring all those hit points down so that my D10 Firebolt has to have some kick to it. If I'm going blast, and a D10 Firebolt has an average output of 5.5 damage per round, assuming you hit.
Yeah.
So if you're throwing up a bunch of guys with 25 hit points, that's 5 combat rounds for my wizard to drop them using just cantrips.
Yeah.
Not gonna work.
Yeah, that's one guy.
That's one guy. So I'm like, and I appreciate breaking the average, but that said, looping back, I would like to see a lot more cinematic moments in the games. One of the first mods I download whenever I start playing Skyrim again, and I don't know why, is the more decapitations mod. And
turn up the gore meter in Fallout. Yeah.
It's not the gore. I want to guarantee at the end of every fight, the last person to go down, I get a cutscene. I don't care if their head comes off, but I want that, knee to the groin, he bends over, dagger goes up under his chin, dagger comes into his back. Like, I want to watch my chick kicking and taking names.
Yeah.
And I want it, like, on the screen.
Well, and that was one of the things with, I guess it was Skyrim. I had a Breton sorceress or wizard, whatever they're called in Skyrim, because it's been a long time since I played Skyrim. But I remember her first critical hit, and she did zap on a wolf. Yeah, she did zap on a wolf, and you saw the skeleton inside the wolf and stuff. And I was like, oh my God, it slowed down to show it. Or I had a crazy snipe. Like you could barely see the little guy walking on the bridge, and I, whoosh, and it whink, and it gets him, and he goes over the bridge and goes flying through the thing, and it was just like mind blown.
Those are to me. And again, I'm seeing the D&D computer game as a solo experience, trying to be a player in it with a virtual dungeon master.
Yeah,
I think those are the best moments.
yeah.
And those opportunities to just really like get into the nitty gritty. Both BG3 and Solasta try to get to it, and they both kind of miss. But I don't think I would want XCOM's very frequent pan down to the camera over the shoulder to take a shot and then pan back up again. Like I would want it to be like really like shockingly cool when they like is some variety, so I forget what animation I'm going to see by the time I see it.
Right.
Which I know is a lot of developer work. It's a lot of artist work. I get that. I get it.
But we're talking ideals, man.
Ideals.
This is...
Total Overdose. Okay. We'll have to look into that one. That one's new. And underestimate, I do agree, when you start going into an established game lore and start trying to tweak it for your computer game, you do open the door to a lot of challenges with balancing. So you're making sure that, the game has a good pace to it. And what I bump into, and I don't do it so much on Solasta as I do on BG3, and I vaguely remember it from Baldur's Gate, is I feel like I should take a long rest now because I've used all my spells. And I keep thinking, like, if I was a player and we are halfway through the ruins that the orcs have overrun, and I turned to the rest of the table and said, guys, I'm out of spell slots. We need a long rest. The DM would look at me and go, I'm sorry, is that a rat crawling out of your shirt? Because I'm looking at you like you're crazy. And it's like, but in the computer game, it's like, I just clicked a button and we had a long rest. And we're all good now. Let's get back to kicking butt. And that I feel like is even harder to get right, but there has to be some way of doing it.
Yeah, well, having the wandering monsters or setting guards or that kind of stuff as options. Like in Darkest Dungeon, you have camping skills, and you can click on different camping skills when you guys go to camp. And some of them are, like the highwayman, he puts up little bells on strings and stuff, and it makes it so you can't be attacked in the middle of the night. And if in a D&D thing, it would be more like, okay, that's a trap with a perception, and you could do the actual numbers to it. But in Darkest Dungeon, they have like skills where the barbarian's like, okay, everybody drink, eat, be merry, because tomorrow we may die. And so everybody gets like a bonus boost to combat, but like their saving throws and everything are lower because they're like, oh my guts, why'd we drink so much, that type stuff.
Well, and that's a hard one. I think the biggest challenge for a D&D game, computer game, is how do you communicate to the player?
Yeah,
you're not gonna you need to pace yourself. Because a lot of combat feels weird when you're like, I'm just going to go all out every fight, but we're going to burn every spell slot every time. And it's a really weird dance that you have to have with the players to go, okay, here are your long rest opportunities. How much are you willing to spend from your personal time dealing with a long rest? So, and I agree, Brian just brought the comment. I like it when a game punishes you for not pacing yourself. And a lot of Dungeons and Dragons traditionally, and I don't think this is going to go away anytime soon, is that idea of you can't all pop your big abilities every fight. They're meant to be for those magical moments where it's like, oh my gosh, we have the orc boss and all of his lieutenants and his mistress all within 5 feet of each other. And the evocation wizard goes, I got it. Everyone just stand back and maybe have a bucket of water handy. because that's when you're bringing down that thing. But I also feel like it's weird because I think maybe I'm spoiled by knowing so much I do about D&D, where I'm like, okay, I know I want to save some, and maybe that's because Celestia uses the here is your long rest point. You don't get another one of these until sometime later. So you have to watch yourself because you're like, I don't know how far we got to push. And it's like, oh, I think we're at the boss. I think I can safely go all in. And sometimes you're wrong. My favorite was one combat encounter. This is not intended as a spoiler, so I won't say where it happens. But it's like, oh God, this is going to be bad. This is the boss. We got lucky. They rolled low on the initiative.
Yeah.
Okay, Cleric is going to pop a max level Bless. Wizard is going to pop a max level Mage Armor. The Paladin is going to pop a max level Protection from Evil. You poke it and go, oh, it was an illusion.
Suckers.
Yeah, and that was a moment where I'm like, at the game table, I wouldn't blame a single player from going, we're taking those spell slots back, right? We're just going to erase that we cast those spells because we didn't really do it. Because that, sir, is a dick move. Kingdom Come kicked my butt up and down the field. Took like 10 hours of questing. That's why I always take a hit first. There's our paladin. I always take a hit first just to see what's going on. That is not true, my friend. I would say for the better part of 8.5 months, your opening move has been, and I bless the party. And that's half the reason that the ranger is stinking OP. The other half is like he built an optimum ranger, which I also feel like this is what I want. I want a way for the game to know when I have min-maxed. Like, I like the feeling of choice. Like, oh, I want to make sure my wizard has like a 14 charisma because I like her. Right. And she strikes me as a comely lass who can talk her way out of some problems.
Yeah.
I don't want to get to a spot later where I find out, oh, you didn't max out your intelligence and end up with a 20 by now? You're screwed.
Yeah.
And it's like, I don't know how they would, I'm thinking of how you would code this, but it almost becomes one of those, like, some flags that pop up. This is a fun character. We're going to put you on fun difficulty versus this is a character we can tell you have min-maxed. Prepare for nightmare mode.
Yeah, I think it would be. I think that falls more of a you should be able to choose. You know what I mean? Like we're playing Iron Man min-maxed. I've got 2 7s and 2 18s in this starter character. And we're gonna play on Iron Man.
Never play on Iron Man. I will never play on Iron Man. I've had too many graphical glitches, or too many cases where I'm like, I clicked, and then it didn't register that I clicked, and then I'm like, why is half my what?
Yeah, I've always said that it generally feels that when you're playing like on an Iron Man or something, that the game is just cheating. Just because in the early days when you were playing in like an Iron Man or a roguelike type game, that's what it felt like. It really felt like the game was just cheating. You're like, okay, I've played this a few times. I've got the gist of it. All right, I'm going to try this hard mode. And then it's like, oh, we've just got twice as many tanks or 4 times as many mechs against you. Or look, the room, they were goblins, but now they're bugbears. It just feels, like I said, it just feels like in a lot of coding that's just cheating rather than...
They want to make the win really, really, really satisfying. Which, okay, let's talk illusions for a quick second. I have a story.
Okay. All right.
I have a story. This is from one of those game nights in college. And they were playing 2nd edition Dungeons and Dragons. And they walked into a room and they spotted a chest, unguarded, a distance away. And they go, okay. First action, poke the chest, see if it's a mimic. They did a tracking test to check for a mimic because they didn't want to get too close. It passed the mimic test. No signs that it crawl into position. I said, okay, I disbelieve it. And the DM says, okay, roll me your wisdom. Shika. Ha! I have successfully disbelieved the illusion. He says, yes, you are standing on an illusionary floor. You will now take 5d6 damage and save versus poison. And the rest of the party watches as one of their characters goes, I don't know if that chest is really...
Yes.
Don't waste an armor sharpening spell on the goblin illusionist that is giggling to himself 30 feet away. Yes. Absolutely. And that's one of my favorites is that back in 2nd edition, if you successfully disbelieved one illusion, you disbelieved them all.
Yep. Yeah.
And that was always good. So, okay. Speaking of Iron Man mode and cheating, you brought up Undertale earlier. So here's a question for our D&D game ideal. What do you think about the game code modifying itself after you've played it to create or lock out opportunities? So if you were to try to play a second time with a different character, the game world is now fundamentally different. Because if I understand right, that is a feature in Undertale. Once you've made certain decisions, you can never reverse them. You can't even, you have to know how to fix your hard drive.
Yes.
You have to uninstall it, and then you have to go find the DLL files and scrub them because it so permanently leaves files behind, hiding on your system to ensure you never, ever see those things.
Again, I think that should be a button you click that you want that. Because again, there's always that part of me. So like original Fallout, I played a half dozen different characters all the way through, and different builds and different things. And I had the big Uga, he stomped around with a bam hammer, like super sledge hammer, and he had no charisma, no intelligence. And I loved in Fallout because he was on combat drugs, and he walked up to the city guard, and there was only 2 dialogue choices. There was and walk away, and just like unintelligible scrawl and walk away, that in brackets. Those are your 2 choices. I absolutely adored that. I think I love when the game sees what your character is doing and definitely makes it, possible. Like a lot of games now, charisma is not a dump stat. If you want all the choices, you take a high charisma, I think that games, I think that I understand, again, we're talking perfect games. So I think that not locking out choices, I mean, if it's in the game as an option, I would rather have it as an option, because I would like to then go back a second time. This is where the whole story comes around. Again, in that same situation with my dashing kind of Han Solo character, I walked up to the guard and there's like 8 options to, talk my way into the city and do things and this and that. And so I think that's, to give yourself the choice. Now, if you wanted to play in a super hardcore mode and it was a game you're like, all right, I'm never going to play, never going to play this character or this storyline again, then I mean, if that's what you want, it'd be amazing.
Well, it's funny because like my thought process on those kinds of things is also why I don't do Iron Man mode. And I definitely wouldn't. It's summed up from an episode of Magnum PI. Back in the day, he was playing an early computer game, and he had the lights off in his little apartment, his little boathouse thingy, and Higgins shows up and flips on the switch and yells at him for staying in the dark. He's like, ah! And then he turns from the monitor because Higgins is screaming. He turns back and his ship blows up. And then he yells at Higgins that the way the game is written, it deletes the game off the floppy disk If you die, you have to go buy another copy.
Oh.
And at that moment, I'm like, that sucks. I never want to own that game. I will never buy that game. And when the Skylanders came out, there was a rumor because parents didn't understand it. So there was a lot of like, how do Skylanders work?
Yeah.
And they knew that if their kid's Skylander died and you wanted to keep playing that level, you needed to put down another Skylander. So they would join the adventure and they could keep it going. So if your kid had like 20 Skylanders,
right,
they could just keep throwing down a fresh Skylander until they finished the level. If you only had 2, it was really hard to finish the level because, okay, we've run out of lives. We only have 2 Skylanders.
Right.
But some parents heard that as, I buy an $8 plastic toy, you put it down, and if it dies, you throw it out because that one's dead.
Right.
And you need another $8 toy. And there were some moms that were like, I remember bumping them at the store, like, no, we're not buying you that Skylander game. That's a waste of money. I'm not going to keep paying $8 every time you die in a video game. You're not that good. And I'm like, first of all, there's a lot to unpack here, ma'am. Telling your 9-year-old that she's not that good at video games, we're going to deal with that later. That's
a therapist will deal with that later in life.
the line from a couple months ago from the Reluctant Hermit. You should talk to someone about that. Not me, someone else. But you should talk to someone about that.
Yeah.
Which is one of my favorite lines from that particular evening. But that kind of a concept. So and Brian brought up the whole idea of the new game is a button for a reason. And I do believe that in a D&D game, and I don't know about you. I have my adventures I love. And as a DM, I like running them over and over again with different players to see what happens. Like I'm not gonna lie, as much as I'm gonna like, as much as I want to, I'm torn because when my Curse of Strahd game ends, I want to keep playing with these people, and we can't play Curse of Strahd again.
Right.
But I'm like, but I need to get another Curse of Strahd game going.
Right.
I want to see what a totally different group of people does with this. And so I feel like that kind of as a player, well, I want to try it this time, but has a lot of replayability in it.
Yeah. Again, 4 monks and a druid.
No monks. I love my monks. I love Lenaria. She is an amazing streamer and a great content creator and a great gamer. But man, monks give me gray hairs. There's too many. Okay, this creates a bonus action. The bonus action creates an extra this action. That action, at a certain point, I'm like, this flow chart does not work anymore. When you look like that guy in the meme with the string on the board to explain what you're doing in a 6-second combat round, I'll take the overpowered rogue's backstab any day of the week.
With a ballista? With a ballista. It doesn't say I can't.
Technically, if they're engaged with somebody else.
Yeah.
And that's yeah, there's a lot to be said there. So many things that I don't know where we are with this. We didn't even did we just assume that you would have a stats and an armor class and hit? Well, those were all assumed, right?
I'm pretty sure that we decided that it was going to be D&D rules.
Okay.
And that the classes and the everything else was there, particularly at the point where we decided we were going to have spell slots. Once you make that decision, pretty much everything else is going to be D&D as D&D.
That's fair.
I think.
I'm kind of mentally recapping here. We like our hexes over our open world. We kind of like our spell slots as long as there's good communication about pacing.
Yep.
We like our cinematics. We're visual nerds.
Yep.
And if I could, I would easily triple the cost of a game on Kickstarter. Like I would personally push through a stretch goal just to get 15 more death animations.
Right.
You know, don't show me the ranger pulling back and letting go. I want to see the ranger reach behind her head and do an over the shoulder backward shot for the critical hit, you know?
Under a leg.
Yeah, have some fun with this stuff, man. You know, there's just or go like have somebody do some corporate espionage, sneak into Bethesda Studios and get their animations,
Yeah.
and then just sneak them into your game. They won't notice because they'll look and go, "Wow, that animation's actually somewhat fluid," and they didn't fall through the floor. It can't be ours.
It wasn't us. Oh, that's funny.
It's funny because it's true.
It's true. Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. Exactly.
So
Stuck.
hopefully, and for the record, at Graybeard Tavern, no S, or at Lantern Noir on Twitter, we do accept payment. This was an hour and a half seminar. I think a reasonable $500 per hour. If you use any of these ideas in your game, a simple consulting fee is all we ask. Nothing unreasonable, at least according to my lawyer.
And we'll come for your knuckles if if you don't.
So what's coming up this week? As we had our ideas for some great D&D computer games. What's coming up in the semi near future in your D&D and other RPG or gaming world? You didn't talk about Wilderness. How's it going?
So it's interesting because we decided as a chat that we put Old Graybeard and we put Tavern Sparrow and the Hype Mystic and another bud from the game, Sonic Blade from our chat. We're the party now. And then we just recruited Copaxa. So it's interesting. It's great to have people from the chat. In Darkest Dungeon, it's easy because you got like 30 characters. So you just pull people from the chat, anybody who wants to be a character. In Wilder Myth, it's a little harder to do because you only have, every chapter is only going to have like 5 or 6 characters. And so, but it's a lot of fun. The Graybeard and Tavern Sparrow are in a relationship. We didn't set that up; it just happened, and so now it's really cute dialogue. And I keep going, "Oh, it's cute. I got to screen print that," type thing. And so, so yeah, it's fun. It's good times. Definitely Sunday, 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, over on Graybeard Tavern. And then Thursday night, we're actually in the downslope, like 3 or 4 episodes left of our City of Mist, almost said Lantern Noir, Monster Noir game. And so we've only got a few of those left. That's on Thursdays at 8:30 Eastern Standard Time. And
that's an Indoors channel?
That's on Indoors channel. Good call. Thank you.
Okay.
And then everything else I'm doing, I'm off streaming doing so with my UK group and my Grognards on Saturday. Grognards, we're winding down that campaign, that chapter of the campaign anyway. They've reunited a nanite filled 10-year-old and her science father who saved her, and so that's all good, but the forces of chaos are after them, and they're so now it's going to be how do we keep this technology, this nanite technology, and the hell glob that's in the back of the ship, how do we keep them out of the hands of chaos? Anyway, so but yeah, that's what we got going on.
That's all there is to it. You just don't.
You just don't.
There's only so much you can do. There's really what it comes down to. There's only so much you can do. But that's cool. Tomorrow night we are going to continue Valley of Plenty. This is the group that made me make an NPC on the spot because they insisted she come along.
Yeah.
Which is weird because I know the exposition because I'm the DM, and I keep thinking that there's no good shall come from Dish. there is no good in Dish at all. Right. But they insisted that, in fact, last week nobody in town likes the rectress because she has said you can't come to the church because you're all bad people. Stay out of my church. And so they're dragging her through town, and like they get attacked by a mob. Yeah. And one of the members of the mob, when they get intimidated, is, well, we'll come back for you and we'll string you both up off a tree. And Pond goes, I shoot him. And we roll, and she criticals her attack roll on this random commoner. I'm like, oh yeah, this is going to end well. But we're playing again tomorrow night. They are continuing their delve into the ruins under the castle. I'm still debating about whether or not there's a dragon in this adventure. There might be. I have theories. I'm not sure what's up. Sunday, we're going to be back Sunday night. We're back with Curse of Strahd. They've managed to get out of the Ravenloft. Oh yeah, they got deep into it. They've been exploring and finding things. One of the characters is now a reborn because he died, but he had sworn an oath. Therefore, he didn't. And then they had their choice of places to teleport, so they teleported out of the castle.
All right.
By accident, right into a fight. And then they're like, okay. And then I'm like, now what?
Yeah.
Like,
where do you
plan to get back in? So I've got a couple days to figure out how evil I'm going to be to them. Saturday, we're back with our Candlekeep game. They're almost done with the proper part of Shemshine's bedtime rhyme. And then I have a follow-up adventure they're going to start on the back end of that. And we announced this week that Nightlight Night is going to be the third player for sure in the Convergence, which kicks off next month.
Yeah.
We've had her kind of in the mix on the down low, but I wanted to find a good time to announce it. We are $20 away from our stretch goal to get character art commissioned as part of the pre-show. So when we launch, we'll have all the money in place to get the overlay. Will have everybody's characters. Very well done art, I like to say too, like almost painting quality. For Speed Painter, BK does just amazing stuff. So I'm geeked about that. We're like right there. Finishing that off.
We'll have to kick that out on Twitter and her
keep nudging
Twitter and whatnot.
Keep nudging. But yeah, we're just shy. And then the next goal after that is one I want to do, and I wanted to make a stretch goal, but that's the weekly DM logs for the campaign, where I sit down after the session and go, okay, here's what happened. Here's what I wanted to happen. Here's what I'm expecting to happen.
Got it.
As part of like the keeping it. So the hope is that someone can sit down with these notes at the end of the campaign and say, okay, I can follow the story arc. I could run this myself.
Yeah.
I'd have to make my own encounters, but I can follow the plot. Because I find, for me, plot is the hardest thing. Encounters, I can whip up an encounter in 3 minutes for the most part. It's the, like, why are they having the encounter? That's the stuff that matters. And that's the part that makes the game interesting.
Right.
Which, as my collective advice, back to the video games. Have all the encounters. Just make the reason for the encounter an interesting one. And you'll have a great game.
Kick open the door, kill the monster. Oh.
Word. If you downloaded this off of your podcast platform of choice, thank you for downloading. Please consider leaving us a review. We love every review we get, even the ones that aren't so kind, because we appreciate the feedback so we can make a better stream for you. So it's not just two old white dudes hanging out talking about the good old days, but it's a better and better experience for all the members of our community.
Sponsors.
We are also should mention that we are sponsored by SweetSteam.com, purveyors of amazing steampunk themed chocolate, and whose support provides all kinds of great giveaways that we use on stream and elsewhere, in the form of stickers, chocolates, and other goodies. In fact, when I did my streamiversary a couple weeks ago, we actually had 2 prize packs that went out of assorted chocolates from them. And again, a thank you to the Inverse Genius Network at inversegenius.com, of which we are a part. And it's amazing content. Covers board games, covers role-playing games, covers video games, even just covers pop culture, kind of like we do. Any parting thoughts for our podcast peoples?
Cool. Usually I think about this beforehand. I would say play Darkest Dungeon. that's my first. Never be afraid to play a new video game and sometimes you think, oh, I wasted money. Don't think that. Take notes so that next time you're about to buy a game, you can look at a review. And if it says it's just like blah, you can go duck it like plague. That would be it. Yeah, bad experience, take some notes. That way you don't buy that type of game next time. Learn from your mistakes.
Absolutely. Okay, so places to go. I'm looking at who's on and where we can go and who I know. And I'm hoping she's going to be on for a bit longer. I'm going to send y'all off to one of my players, Nebula. She plays Samara, the Evocation Wizard, in my Curse of Strahd game. She is an amazing, kind individual, one to whom I owe a great deal of. I give her a great deal of respect. I owe her no small debt in the support she gave me to get started on my streaming career. She's currently on her first playthrough of Horizon Zero Dawn, and it's kind of like watching someone pick up their D&D book for the first time and going, oh, this is going to be. You are going to have so much fun. So it's a great experience to hang out with her for that, and I wouldn't be here if it were not for the support of her and her lesser half Azteki, who have been consistent and kind supporters of everything we do. So we're gonna send you over there, and thank you for hanging out with us this afternoon. We're back here every Tuesday at 5 p.m. That's where the F was coming from. 5 p.m. every Tuesday, we have a happy hour. If you have ideas for what you want us to talk about, happy oldtimer tavern at gmail.com with your thoughts, and we'll build a show around it.
Woohoo.
All right. Until then, folks, stay safe.